Let's start with addition and subtraction of similar fractions. When we say similar fractions, these are fractions with the same denominator. And our rule in adding or subtracting similar fractions, we simply have to copy the denominator and then we add the numerator. So to illustrate, let's start with example number 1. 1/5 plus 3/5. Okay, so again, since they are similar fractions, we simply have to copy the denominator. So in example number 1, the common denominator is 5. And then we add the numerator, 1 plus 3. And so if we're going to add 1 and 3, that will give us 4 over 5. So our answer is 4/5. Let's have another example. 7 over 9 plus 3 over 9. So obviously, they are similar fractions. So we copy the common denominator, which is 9. And then we add the numerator, 7 and 3. And if we're going to add 7 and 3, that will give us 10 over 9. Alright, so take note and remember this, that when you are dealing with fractions, you have to express your answer in simplest form. And 10 over 9 is an improper fraction, and so we have to reduce this, we have to express this in its simplest form. And how do we do that? Well, very simple. You simply have to divide 10 by 9. Okay, and so how many 9 do we have in 10? We have 1. 9 times 1 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. Okay, so to express 10 over 9 in simplest form, simply copy the quotient, which is 1. And then you have the remainder, which is also 1. And copy the divisor, which is 9. So the simplest form of 10 over 9 is 1 and 1 over 9. Alright? So you can check actually. You multiply 9 by 1, so that will give you 9. And then you add it to the numerator, which is 1. So 9 plus 1, that will give you 10. So 10 over 9. Okay. Let's have subtraction of similar fractions. 8 over 11 minus 2 over 11. Okay, so the same procedure, only that we subtract the numerator. Okay, so copy the common denominator, which is 11, and then subtract 8 by 2. Okay, so 8 minus 2 will give you 6 over 11. And I think this one is in simplest form already. So this is our answer. Alright. Let's have the last one. 3 over 8 minus 2 over 8. So the common denominator in this example is 8. Okay, subtract 3 by 2. And 3 minus 2 will give us 1 over 8. And obviously that is in simplest form, so our answer is 1 over 8. There are instances, however, that the given fractions doesn't have the same denominator, meaning they are dissimilar fractions. And since we can only add fractions if they have the same denominator, then we need to rewrite the given fractions into a similar fractions so that we can perform the indicated operation. So to illustrate that, let's have example number 1 here. 4/5 plus 3/4. So I'll be showing you 2 ways to add these 2 fractions. Okay, so let me label the first solution, the first method, solution number 1. Okay, this is actually the usual thing that we do in adding fractions, and that is to find the least common denominator of the two fractions. So let me rewrite first. 4/5 plus 3/4. Alright, so there are so many ways to find the least common denominator of the given numbers, okay? But the popular one so far is by listing method, or you can also do the prime factorization, okay? So for this example, let's do the listing method, meaning to say we're going to list down the multiples of 5 and 4. So 5 and 4. What are the multiples of 5? We have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on. How about for 4? We have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and so on. And if you notice, there is a common multiple between 5 and 4, that is 20. Okay, so 20 is the common multiple of 5 and 4, which is actually our least common denominator. Okay, so we have here 20. Now that we have the least common denominator, then the next thing that you need to do is you divide 20 by 5. So 20 divided by 5, that is actually 4. And then you multiply it in the numerator, which is also 4. So 4 times 4 will give you 16. Okay. Next is you divide 20 by 5. Okay. You divide 20 by 4. So 20 divided by 4, that will give you 5. And then you multiply it here to the numerator. So 5 times 3, that will give you 15. Okay. So plus 15. And so if we're going to add 16 and 5, we will have 31 over 20. Okay, but we need to express this in simplest form. So 31 divided by 20. Okay, so that is 31. How many 20s do we have in 31? So obviously there's just one. So this is 20. 20 minus 31 minus 20, that will give you 11. Okay, let's change the color. We have 11. And so if we're going to rewrite this in simplest form, we will have copy the quotient, you have the remainder, and then the divisor, which is 20. Okay, so we have the simplest form, which is 1 and 11 over 20. Okay, now another solution that I'm going to show to you is so far the quickest one. Okay, let me label that as solution number 2. Okay, okay, so we copy first 4/5 plus 3/4. Okay, so in this method, okay, you multiply first the denominator or the denominators. So 5 times 4, that will give you 20. And then you multiply 4 and 4. So 4 times 4, that will give you 16. And we have, you multiply 5 and 3, that will give you 15. So if we're going to add 16 and 15, that will give us 31 over 20, which is exactly the same answer that we have here in the first solution. Okay, or this is also 1 and 11 over 20. Okay, so we arrive at the same solution. Let's have another example. 1/2 plus 2/3. Okay, so let me show you again two ways to solve these fractions. So solution number one, okay, so we have 1/2 plus 2/3. Okay, so by listing method, we have 2 and 3. So the multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. While for 3, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on. And if you notice, there is a common multiple here, which is 6, which is also our LCD. Okay, so 6 divided by 2, okay, divided by 2, that will give you 3, times 1, that will still give you 3. Okay, we have 6 divided by 3, okay, that will give you 2. 2 times 2 here in the numerator, that will give you 4. Okay, and so if we're going to add 3 and 4, that will give us 7 over 6, or in simplest form, that is simply 1 and 1 over 6. Okay, all right, so let's have another solution. Okay, let me call this solution number 2. Okay, so we have 1/2 plus 2/3. Okay, so in this method, you simply have to multiply 2 and 3. That will give you 6. And then you multiply 3 and 1. That will give you 3. 3 times 1 is 3. And then you multiply 2 and 2 here in the numerator. So 2 times 2, that will give you 4. Okay, and 3 plus 4, that will give you 7 over 6. Okay, you have the same result, or 1 and 1 over 6. Let's have the third example. 3 over 9 plus 2 over 6. Okay, so using again the first method, so we have, okay, let me call this again solution number 1. Okay, so we have 3 over 9 plus 2 over 6. Okay, this time I will not use the listing method, but I'm going to use the prime factorization. Okay, so let's have here 9, and we have here 6. Okay, what are the prime factors of 9? So we have 3 times 3. How about for 6? We have 3 times 2, right? So all you have to do is to bring down all the prime factors here. So let's bring down the prime factors. Okay, so bring down this and you bring down this. Okay, so that will give us 3 times 3 times 2. Okay, so this is our LCM or LCD. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18. Okay, is 18. If we're going to use the listing method, you will still arrive to the same number. So 9 and 6. So 9 is 9, 18, 27, 36, and so on. For 6, you have 6, 12, 18, 24, and so on. Okay, so the least common, okay, is 18. The least common multiple is 18, which is exactly the same that we have here using the prime factorization. Alright, so we have our LCD, which is 18. So 18 divided by 9, that will give you 2, times 3 here, that will give you 6. Alright, I hope you can follow. 18 divided by 6, that will give you 3. Okay, times 2 here, that will give you also 6. Alright, and if we're going to add 6 and 6, that will give us 12. Okay, so 12 over 18. Now 12 over 18 is not yet in simplest form. Why? Because there is a common factor between 12 and 18. And what is that? Okay, so 18 is 6 times 3, while 12 is 6 times 2. Okay, and so if we're going to remove the greatest common factor, 6, so what is left in the numerator is 2, in the denominator is 3. So the simplest form of 12 over 18 is 2/3. Alright, now let's have solution number 2. Okay, so let's copy 3 over 9 plus 2 over 6. Okay, so in this method, you multiply the denominator or the denominators. You have 9 times 6, that will give you 54. And then you multiply 6 and 3, that will give you 18. And also you multiply 9 and 2, that will give you also 18. And 18 plus 18 is 36 over 54. But 36 over 54 is not yet in simplest form because there is a common factor between 36 and 54. What do you think is that? It's the common factor between 36 and 54. Okay, 54 is 18 times 3, while 36 is 18 times 2. So if we're going to remove the common factors, or the greatest common factor, which is 18, what is left in the numerator is 2, while in the denominator is 3. So the answer is 2/3. And how we notice? Okay, they are exactly the same. Let's proceed to subtraction of dissimilar fractions. So let's have 3/4 minus 1/3. Okay, so I'll be showing again two solutions for this one. So let's have the first solution here. Okay, so 3/4 minus 1/3. Okay, so what is the least common denominator of 3/4 and 1/3? So we have the denominators 4 and 3. So multiples of 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. What about for 3? We have 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on. And if you notice now, we have the least common multiple of 4 and 3, which is 12. Okay, and that is our least common denominator. Okay, so next is you divide 12 by 4. That will give you 3, and then you multiply it to the 3 here in the numerator. That will give you 9. So 12 divided by 4, that's 3 times 3, that will give you 9. Next is you divide 12 by 3. 12 divided by 3, that will give you 4 times 1 here in the numerator, that will give you 4 also. So minus 4. 9 minus 4 is equal to 5 over 12. So I think that is in simplest form already. So this is our answer. Okay, showing you the alternative way of subtracting these two fractions. Okay, so we have 3/4 minus 1/3. Okay, so very simple. You multiply 4 and 3, that will give you 12, and then you multiply 3 and 3 here, that will give us 3 times 3 is 9, minus you multiply 4 and 1, that will give you 4, and 9 minus 4 is equal to 5 over 12. Okay,